Kia ora and welcome to Sam's Take, a series about entertainment news and reviews, with me, Sam Realstone. Today I'm diving into possibly the most highly anticipated film of the year with my review of Spider-Man No Way Home. Directed by John Watts, Tom Holland returns as Peter Parker / Spider-Man, dealing with the revelation of his secret identity after the previous Spider-Man film. He seeks out Doctor Strange, played by Benedict Cumberbatch, to try and use magical means to reclaim his secret, but in the process unleashes multiversal chaos onto New York City. Along with the returning cast of Zendaya as MJ, Jacob Batalon as Ned Leeds, and Marisa Tomei as Aunt May, all of the classic film iterations of Spider-Man villains are back as well. Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin, Alfred Molina as Doc Ock, Jamie Foxx as Electro, Rhys Ifans as the Lizard, and Thomas Haden Church as the Sandman. The film is full of classic Spidey quips and jokes which most land without an ounce of cringe, and there are countless shots that look just like the pages of comic books come to life, which really just shows the attention to detail in the creation of the film. Tom Holland's performance is rich and emotionally resonant. There is so much heart and passion in his choices. You can see the work that he and the other creatives at Marvel and Sony have put in to make this version of Peter Parker as impactful as possible. We've seen this Spidey go through a lot, and this movie is even more. We also get to see a softer side to Doctor Strange, if only briefly. He is as calculated as ever, prioritising the greater world and multiverse at large. It reminded me very much of how he's portrayed in the Illuminati comics. In the Marvel Comics universe, the Illuminati are a super genius group made up of representatives for humans, magic users, the X-Men, the Inhumans, Wakandans, and Atlanteans. Iron Man and Mr. Fantastic, Doctor Strange, Professor X, Black Bolt, Black Panther, and Namor respectively. There is an entire arc where the group takes it upon themselves to decide what is best for reality, making choices for the greater good. It results in some amazing dialogue, and I really got those wise, prolific feelings from this portrayal of Strange on screen. And though some may have their reservations about the multiple villains, they all definitely get a go in the spotlight. Absolutely some more than others, but every performance took me back to my childhood or early teens when I watched those early film series. An absolutely amazing feat. There is a truly touching and authentic relationship between Zendaya's MJ and Peter. This film is bursting with emotion and vibrantly shows why these stories and characters are more than just comic books. They're three-dimensional and have so much heart. They have so much to give and offer to readers or watchers. With Spider-Man, particularly this one, you can see why anyone can relate to the character, the issues he faces, and the moral dilemmas no matter how big or small. We can all find ourselves in his story. I got pretty emotional watching this, in all honesty. The way the stories and performances can make you feel so much is very powerful. And I really hope you can find something that resonates with you as well, beyond just the amazing set pieces and action sequences. Though there are definite pacing issues, and the first half of the film is a little slow, it does little to distract from the absolute spectacle on screen and a Spider-Man movie being about Spider-Man. Where it leaves Peter at the end is an amazing arc for this first trilogy and will undoubtedly make for some mind-blowing stories in the future. So I'm sure you can tell, but it's a massive recommendation from me. Some of the MCU's best work to date, and it's only going to get better from here. That's all I can really go into without talking about massive spoilers, so if you don't want to know anything more, I'll see you in the next video. To start off the spoiler section, what Marvel and Sony have pulled off is wow. And they know it. After months of speculation, we could finally confirm that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are reprising their roles as Peter Parker from previous film series. Kinda still can't believe it. Kevin Feige knew exactly what he was doing with this, giving the right amount of nostalgia and progression to these different versions of the character, with cinematic moments that will go down in history as some of the most epic. There's an emotional scene where 3 generations of Spider-Men come together to mourn the loss of their respective loved ones. The thought and care put into honouring this character and its history is truly one of a kind. There's another wonderful moment where our MCU Peter tries to thank the other Peters and just ends up hugging them. To me, that was Tom thanking Tobey and Andrew for paving the way. It's also so nice to see Andrew come back, since it's been widely documented that his exit when Tom Holland took over was quite upsetting for him. They honour his contribution and legacy so wonderfully, and it will be very interesting to see if he says anything about his motivations for coming back after such a messy divorce. Also, complete curveball, Charlie Cox is back as Matt Murdock / Daredevil from the Netflix series. This too is unreal and the best news because I love him in that role and the way he was written. I hope the nature and the history of that character continues to be honoured. Finally, just a couple of other things that I noticed before we jump into the mid and post-credit scenes. Norman Osborn mentions that Oscorp doesn't exist in the MCU universe, or at least not yet. It's interesting that it's not around, as it's obviously a dominant part of the Spider-Man lore. But of course we still don't know who purchased Avengers Tower many movies back, and Oscorp is definitely a contender. And I can't talk about this film without addressing the impact and fate of Marisa Tomei's Aunt May. She gave us arguably the most heart-wrenching scene since Iron Man's death in Endgame, with her own death scene and the delivery of the iconic "with great power" quote. The way those words are used to tie our three Peters together just adds more weight and emotion to not only the legacy of the character of Peter, but to May as well, since we've only seen Uncle Ben deliver that line on screen previously. A truly amazing performance by Tomei, and a scene that will be remembered for years to come. As for the mid and post-credit scenes, the mid-credit scene confirms that Venom is in the MCU. Kinda. The scene shows Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock getting an explanation of the entire MCU essentially, the cast of characters and the events that have taken place, before getting sent back to his own universe. But not before leaving a little piece of the symbiote in the MCU. This would obviously suggest Venom will be back and Peter will be getting the iconic black suit. And the post-credit scene is the teaser trailer for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I'm not going to do a full breakdown here, but things are getting crazy. Thanks so much for watching this episode of Sam's Take. I'll be back next time with more entertainment news and reviews.